Oh, is it? Oh, sorry. All right. Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Audacity Network, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of Pearl Daily. If you guys want to support my work and you enjoy the show, make sure you go to theaudacitynetwork.com. That's theaudacitynetwork.com and sign up for my monthly or my yearly membership. This membership will give you three things. Number one is access to our old content that got deleted. Um, Two is first access to our documentaries when they come out. And three, it helps fund different projects that we have going on. It's really helpful if you guys can get the yearly membership. It's 80 bucks. Or you can get the $10 a month membership. We also do a after show where we do Q&A. I'll tell stories from behind the scenes. It's a lot of fun, that sort of thing. So we always do that after the show. Okay, so today's going to be a little different of a show. So I saw a clip of the CEO of Pepsi talking about if women can have it all. I saw another clip of Michelle Obama talking about if women have it all, could have it all. And this is a phrase I think the media and movies have really pushed, that women can work, they can be good mothers, and they can do it all at the same time. And I wanted to see the women that supposedly had it all. They have careers, they're mothers, they're wives. I wanted to predict if they agreed that you can, in fact, have it all, because that is what the media pushes. And that is what we as women are pushed to do. I don't know many 18, 19, 20-year-old homemakers, but I do know that most women go and get jobs or go to college. That is what is normal. And what they don't tell you is life is about choices and trade-offs. And so I wanted to start by showing this video of the CEO of Pepsi talking about if she thinks women can have it all. Oh, this is my fault. Sorry, guys. I forgot to plug this in. Okay. Let me try again.
I don't think women can have it all. I just don't think so. We pretend we have it all. We pretend we can have it all. My husband and I married for 34 years, and we have two daughters. And every day you have to make a decision on whether you are going to be a wife or a mother. In fact, many times during the day, you have to make those decisions. And you have to co-opt a lot of people to help you. We co-opted our families to help us. We plan our lives meticulously so we can be decent parents. But if you ask our daughters, I'm not sure they will say that I've been a good mom. I'm not sure.
I think that is the most honest response I have ever heard from a career woman. Many career women's children are afraid of their mothers, and they're not overly honest about the impact it had on them for them being gone all of those years. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Different families have to make different choices. But life is about choices and trade-offs. And I think so often we think we can have it all with no trade-off.
And I try all kinds of coping mechanisms. I mean, I'll tell you a story that happened when my daughter went to Catholic school, Convent of Sacred Heart. And every Wednesday morning, they have class coffee with mothers. Class coffee with mothers for a working woman. How is it going to work? How am I going to take off 9 o'clock on Wednesday mornings to go for a class coffee? So I miss most class coffees. My daughter would come home and she'll say, list of all the mothers that were there, and you were not their mom. First few times, I would die with guilt. But I developed coping mechanisms. I called the school and I said, give me a list of mothers who were not there. So when she came home in the evening, she'd say, you were not there, you were not there. I said, Mrs. Rag wasn't there, Mrs. So-and-so wasn't there. So I'm not the only bad mother. You have to cope because you die with guilt. You just die with guilt. My observation, David, is that
See, this is what we talk about. This is the example of a woman that is more on the selfish side in a selfless role. And it's not necessarily that she's a bad person or even would be a bad mother. It's that the circumstances she chose in life didn't give her the time to put her family first. And her kids are the ones who suffer. And while this is a problem, that is not the only problem these days. It's no wonder you see testosterone levels dropping of men 1% every year. The average testosterone level is half of what it was 50 years ago. And this is one of the foundational physiological reasons why society is crumbling and in the state that it's in. These women are getting away with murder, and there is a simp epidemic. Testosterone levels are so low, and something needs to be done about it. Chalk is on a mission to save mankind from extinction by boosting your testosterone and vitality. When you boost your testosterone, you'll have more mental clarity and you'll be better and more capable of making decisions and taking risks. Having high testosterone will also affect your pheromones, so women will find you more attractive subconsciously. Get the Chalk Male Vitality Stack on chalk.com. That's CHOQ.com. Chalk provides the highest quality of herbal supplements clinically studied to boost your testosterone. Their tongue cat is wild harvested from the Malaysian rainforest and is studied in double-blind human trial to boost free testosterone levels 87% in 21 days. Use my name, Pearl, as your coupon code and you'll get 25% off statewide on chalk.com. That's CHOQ.com. Coupon code Pearl. Boost your testosterone naturally and supercharge your masculinity. Don't be a simp. Okay, so let me keep going.
The biological clock and the career clock are in total conflict with each other. Total, complete conflict. When you have to have kids, you have to build your career. Just as you're rising to middle management, your kids need you because they're teenagers, they need you for the teenage years. And that's the time your husband becomes a teenager too. So he needs you. Sorry. They need you too. So what do? And as you grow even more, your parents need you because they're aging. So we're screwed. I mean, we cannot have it all. But you know what? Coping mechanisms, train people at work.
And this is always what I hear. I guess I don't hear, but I see it constantly. When we put our career first, once we have a family, the kids are the ones who suffer. And this is the CEO of Pepsi telling us that. So if the CEO of Pepsi is saying, I couldn't do it all, and this is probably a woman with a super high IQ, very intelligent. If she could be the CEO of Pepsi, she's probably good with people to some degree and managing things. Who are we? Average women.
Train your family to be your extended family. When I'm in PepsiCo, I travel a lot. And
now she's saying I had to push on raising my kids onto my family. So my extended family had to raise my kids for me.
When my kids were tiny, especially my second one, we had strict rules on playing Nintendo. She'd call the office. She didn't care whether I was in China or Japan or India, wherever. She'd call the office. The receptionist would pick up the phone. Can I speak to my mommy? Everybody knows if somebody says, can I speak to mommy, it's my daughter. So she'd say, yes, Tara, what can I do for you? I want to play Nintendo. And the receptionist has a set of questions. Have you finished your homework, You see, I say this because that's what it takes. She goes through the questions and she says, okay, you can play Nintendo half an hour. But she leaves me a message. Tara called at 5. This is what the sequence of questions I went through. I've given her permission. So it's seamless parenting. But if you don't do that, I'm serious. If you don't develop mechanisms with your secretaries, with the extended office, with everybody around you, it cannot work. It can't. Motherhood, stay-at-home mothering was a full-time job. Being a CEO of a company is 3 full-time jobs rolled into one. How can you do justice to all? You can't. The person that hurts the most with this whole thing is your spouse. There's no question about it. Raj always says, you know what?
And she's being honest. I'm never going to hate on someone that's being honest about the consequences or of the choices she made. She's not whining about them, she's just accepting it. But I think it's good that we see, even from top performing women, this is what comes with it.
Your list is PepsiCo, 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 your 2 kids, our 2 kids, your mom, and then the bottom of the list is me. There are 2 ways to look at it. You should be happy you're on the list.
American women, am I right? Actually, I don't even think she is. But actually, I don't even know if she's American. She might, anyways, it doesn't matter. But yeah, this is what happens. The husband comes last. And this is why men often feel like a sperm donor in this country, because they come after her career, after the kids, then comes his needs. He's barely on the list. He should be happy to be there. And they're laughing. Everyone's laughing at this joke because that's how they feel. They're being honest.
So don't complain. Just don't complain. He is on the list, very much on the list. But,
Okay, so
I absolutely love using.
Okay, so that was example number 1. I'm going to check the chat really quick. But that was the first example. And this is why in a little bit, guys, I'm going to do a call-in show. And who I would like to hear from, I'm going to go through 2 more examples of women that tried to have it all and see what they say about if they could. And my question for women is, what are you willing to give up for your husband? Or if you're married or in a relationship, what did you give up to be in the relationship you're in? And I'm going to read, I asked a couple women that I know that are housewives or in relationships for a very long time, and I'm going to read you guys their answers. Okay, so someone says, anyone getting ready for the hurricane? I don't know what you're talking about. The CEO treats her husband like he's a teenager. Yeah, and does that sound like she listens to him and defers to his authority if she's calling him a teenager? Yeah, okay, so let me go to the next one. And this is Oprah and Michelle Obama talking about if women can have it all.
Over and over and over. And we talked a little bit about
this
it.
might be in 2x.
So here's the question that comes up over and over and over, and we talked a little bit about it, this idea of balance. Is that a false notion for women? Because can we really, are we ever going to have it all? I used to say, you can have it all, you just can't have it all at one time. Or is that a false notion?
Look, I am always irritated by the "you can have it all" statement. And I grew irritated with that phrase and that expectation the older I got, as you're trying to have it all.
Yeah.
And you're beat.
So these are liberal career women saying that that's not possible. These are Democrat, liberal, Michelle Obama, you could argue if she's a career woman, but Oprah is saying no, not possible.
Yourself up.
Right.
And feeling less than because you aren't having it all. Because it's a ridiculous aspiration.
Especially if you're looking at everybody else's Facebook page.
Oh, God, everybody has it all. Everybody's lying. They're lying. Y'all need to stop lying. Be real about the fact that, no one gets everything. That was one of the first rules you learned as a little kid. You don't always get your way. Come on, people. You don't always get what you want all the time. And that's true in life. So what I've told many young people is that you can have it all, but oftentimes it's hard to get it all at the same time.
Yeah, I believe
So it's just a matter of managing expectations. So for me, for example, when your husband is president of the United States and you have children, something's got to give. You know, I've made compromises in my life, in my career, but I've also in exchange gained a wonderful platform to do some great work. Who would have ever imagined that we would make the inroads we've made on healthy eating and changing the way our kids are fed?
I will never forgive Michelle Obama for ruining school lunches. I'll never forgive her. Ever. We had amazing cookies and she took those away. That was not, Michelle, that I do not appreciate that. But, sorry, I'm being silly for a second. But the point is, she had to pick between her career and her husband's career. Now, obviously, this is extreme. Her husband is the president of the United States. Obviously, that's going to come first. But I see this in movies all the time where the new lead protagonist generally is a woman and the man follows her career. And that's fine. You can do that. But life comes with choices and trade-offs. And are we ready for what comes with that?
School and, you know, yeah, I can point to so many things that I've had, I've been able to do. If I want to be heavily involved in my girls' lives, that means that sometimes I have to put some things on the back burner to give them what they need. So it's hard to have it all. But that's where you go back to knowing who you are and knowing that, you know, you're really living through phases. And if you're compromising through one phase of your journey, you're not giving it all up. You're compromising for that phase. There's another phase that's coming up where you might be able to have more of what you thought you wanted. You know, you get to know yourself a little bit more. So no, I don't want young women out there to have the expectation that if they're not having it all, that somehow they're failing. Life is hard, but life is long. If you maintain your health, which is one of the reasons why we talk about health, talk about taking care of yourself, because you want to get to the next phases in life where you can do more of what you want to do at any given time.
You want to be wherever you are right now, and just like you say, I'm not through.
Mm-hmm.
No,
You're not through.
not through. So,
Okay.
so
So that's example 2. Now, example 3 came from TikTok a couple of weeks ago. So there is a woman, her name is Kelsey. Her name is Kelsey, and she's the wife of, I forgot his name, but there's a tradwife couple. They make tradwife content or traditional content on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and they are very famous. And this couple came from New York. They met in New York. And the woman went to Juilliard, and she was set to be a ballerina. And if you know anything about Juilliard, there is a 5% acceptance rate. You have to be a very, very good ballerina to go to Juilliard. And she was living in New York City, and that was her dream. And then she met a billionaire. And she was willing to, I can't imagine why, right? I can't imagine. But very quickly she said, you know what? I'm okay on the Juilliard stuff. You know what? I'll just have your children. And now they live on a ranch in the middle of nowhere, and they make TikTok content, and she makes everything from scratch. And I want to show you how the women of today react to this. So what they'll do is say that she is somehow abused. She is somehow coerced into these decisions, when this is the wife of a billionaire family. And somehow the internet took this as she should have gone to Juilliard instead of getting married. And it's interesting because feminists always parade around that it's great for women to have choices, but whenever women make a choice that doesn't go with their narrative, we end up with videos like this. So I'm going to show you guys a essay done by a woman who's like anti-traditional something, I don't know. But I want to show you her take on this whole situation.
There was this Times article with this.
Oh, wait. I'm so sorry, guys. I listen in 2x. When you've been on YouTube as long as I have, you barely ever listen to anything.
There was this Times article with this woman called Hannah Nealman, and she has a TikTok account called Ballerina Farm. She also has her own TikTok account called Hannah Nealman. I think she had that TikTok account before the Ballerina Farm one. I think. She is the pinnacle Mormon tradwife. She makes everything from scratch. She's always got children dangling off of her. Daniel really doesn't seem to be about as much, although he pops in and out. Paints this very serene image of this woman who just loves taking care of the family, who makes everything from scratch, who, who gives her life to her children and her family. Scratching on the surface, this seems like very aspirational content. And when this Times article came out, it then made it quite clear to a lot of different people that maybe, just maybe, her situation isn't exactly as it seems. I will just
So
say,
this couple invites a New York Times reporter into their home to do an interview. And this New York Times reporter decides to make this into a hit piece about their family.
is that there are a lot of people, number one, saying that she is being controlled, has got her freedom taken away, she is deeply saddened. It's about patriarchy and it's about feminism and it's about men trying to take away women's, voices. Argument number two, author of this piece was just dramatizing everything, and actually maybe that was her career, maybe she didn't actually want to do ballet, maybe she didn't want a different life. It's very possible that she's very, very happy. You guys are making a mountain out of a molehill.
That Hannah Nealman is a victim or oppressed based on this article, it's because it was manipulative journalism.
And the one thing I will say, which is what I just said a minute ago, their faith comes into this in a very, very, very big way. People who are ex-Mormon, who have, in their own words, left their cult, were basically indoctrinated. These are their words, not mine. They left their husbands, they managed to free themselves, and they are also chiming in on this conversation.
This is a woman who is not an autonomous individual, and I've seen women on here.
So this is my question. This woman is not an autonomous individual. Are we adults or are we children? Because if we're children, then that would say that we can't make decisions on our own. But if we're adults, then we got to be responsible for the decisions that we choose. And this is a woman, she's ex-Mormon, so she did the Mormon thing and it didn't work out for whatever reason. Maybe she decided she didn't like her husband. Maybe he divorced her, I don't know. But what happens, instead of taking the loss, we have a tendency to blame it on everybody else.
Or saying things like, well, I don't want to speak about her life because she is a grown woman, she is an autonomous person, she has free will, she's making choices. No, she isn't. She isn't. She is being indoctrinated and has been indoctrinated since the day she was born.
I don't want to hear anything about indoctrination. We have Google. Yep. If you have access to the internet, you can Google whatever you want. You really can.
To the Mormon cult, okay? She's not making choices that are informed. She's being told that she has to obey her husband.
Talking about Nealman, even they said a devout Mormon who was raised in a Mormon family, she bakes perfectly scored sourdough loaves, milks cows straight into her coffee cup, and gives birth by candlelight with no pain relief. Straight off the bat, Hannah Nealman was a Juilliard ballet dancer. She actually had 1 year left of her undergraduate. She had 1 year left, and that was going to be it. Her career was going to be ballet. Hence the reason why it is a little bit strange how it's called, Ballerina Farm. I mean, it's not strange, but it is strange once we get into this in just a moment. Grew up in a very Mormon family, okay? Both her parents were very Mormon. She went away and she was in Juilliard, and that is what she wanted to do. When she was asked, is this something that you've always wanted to do? She says, no. I mean, I was like, my goal was New York City. I left home at 17 and I was so excited to get there. I just loved that energy and I was going to be a ballerina. I was a good ballerina. She pauses again, but I know that when I started to have kids, my life would look different.
Well, I think one of the best things about a social media business in our case is that we get to work together. Growing up.
And when they were both asked about the reasoning why they're having so many kids. She says it's God's plan. Whenever she has a baby, give it another year. She then asks God, and God says, yes, have another baby, one baby after another after another.
Okay, this is by far the number one question that we've gotten the most of.
How many kids we're going to have?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. We don't really have a number. We're just kind of going for it.
When asked, are you going to fill your 15-seater van? Daniel, the husband, says, yes. And she says, well, I'm a little bit tired. Now, in a very coincidental chain of events, Hannah was actually on her way back to New York from Salt Lake City. She was going to go back to Juilliard, and she was going to go and finish. And what ended up happening was that Daniel, her now husband, what happened was Daniel's dad is actually the owner of JetBlue Airlines. And Daniel knew that she was going to be getting on that flight, so he managed to wiggle it and get a seat right next to her. And in his words, she didn't realize his dad owned the airline, so Daniel was like, I'm on that same flight. She says, I remember checking in and them saying, you're 5A and you're 5B. I just thought, no way, that's crazy. Daniel smiles, I made a call. He had pulled strings at JetBlue, and so began their first date. Back then, I thought we should date for a year before marriage, she continues, so I could finish school and whatever. And Daniel was like, it's not going to work. We've got to get married now. After a month, they were engaged. 2 months after that, they were married, moving into an apartment Daniel rented on the Upper West Side. And 3 months after that, she was pregnant, the first Juilliard undergraduate to be expecting in modern history. When they were then probed on, have you had to give up that much? She says that, we've all had to make sacrifices. Our first few years of marriage were really hard.
Okay, so what did she give up in order to get married to a high-level guy? I mean, I think $1 billion, most women might, they think about it. But regardless, right? In order to get married to a high-level guy, she said, within a couple of months, he said, I'm ready for kids and marriage now. And she said, okay. How do you guys think her life would have turned out if she said, you know what, I need a year, I need to finish Juilliard? How would that have gone?
Sacrificed a lot, but we did have this vision, this dream, and Daniel interrupts, we still do. What kind of sacrifices, I ask her? Well, I gave up dance, which was hard. You give up a piece of yourself, and Daniel gave up his career ambitions. Now, there's a very common theme in this. The way that the journalist writes is that Daniel keeps on cutting her off. One of the sad things, actually, was when they then moved out to this ranch, to this farm that they now call Ballerina Farm, she really wanted for this particular shed slash barn to be made into a ballet studio, just do what she loves doing. And he dismissed it, and he decided to turn it into a kid's home schooling room.
So I'm here in the schoolroom. If you followed for any amount of time, you know that this building actually used to be where we shipped and fulfilled all our orders here on the farm.
Now keep this in mind. They have a lot of money, but where his dad comes from, the amount of money they're able to make off the farm, they actually sell their meat. I believe that they sell their cow meat and they do it online and all this kind of stuff. So they have quite a good business as well as their social media. So they rake in a hell of a lot of money. They are not poor. And he still would not either build her a ballet studio or have the ballet studio that she wanted.
The acceptance rate to get into Juilliard is between 5 and 8%. I say this because I saw a comment of a woman who said they too had hobbies they gave up after they became a mother. You just give up things when you become a mother. No one is arguing that. But please don't compare your hobbies to being a Juilliard level ballet dancer. Unless you were training to be a professional athlete or training to be an Olympian, you and her are not the same.
Journalist did pick up on this. She says, I look out at the vastness and I don't totally agree. Daniel wanted to live in the Great Western Wild.
Okay, so what did she do? She gave up what she wanted for what he wanted. Now we could say right, wrong, doesn't matter. That's what she chose to do. And what the general public comes out and does is say that she does not have agency and that she cannot be possibly making these decisions on her own and that she is somehow a victim. So I guess my question for the women is, and I would love to hear from married women especially, What did you give up in order to get the man that you wanted? So I asked a couple of married women that I know, and I'm going to read their responses. The issue is most happily married women are not dying to come on camera. So she said, I'll give you an answer here. Woman number one, she said, I gave up control of the outcome, control of the timeline, knowing everything in advance, accepting that he has options, not asking questions that aren't my business, and my big executive job for a temporary contractor position, and I have never been happier. The second woman I asked, let me pull up her response. Second. And if there's any women in the chat, I'll read your answers too. She said, in submission to God, I gave my husband authority over me. So the question for the women is, what did you give up in order to get the guy that you wanted? So I'm going to put the link in the chat. Could you guys put it, like, pin it as a comment? Okay. I'm going to send it to a couple people that I messaged to come on. So let me see 1 second. I don't see it, guys. Is it in the description? It's not up yet. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. 1 second. Because that's the question. Are you willing to quit your full-time job to go work part-time for your husband? Who in the chat, who would be willing to do it? Would you be willing to move and live somewhere you don't want to live for your husband? If you're a city person, would you be willing to live in the country for a family? Would you be willing to go down in lifestyle? No vacations anymore for a family. What are you willing to give up to get what you want? That's my question for the women. Or what, if you're married, what did you give up in order to get what you want? Where is... Most women aren't going to come on camera and brag. Well, I don't know. Now's the time. Is the link there or no? Oh, you had to do it again. Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. 1 second. So I'll give you a... Let me text the people, because there's a couple women that I was going to... Also, we do need to see you guys on camera because we do have, obviously, we have trolls. So we got to have you guys see your faces. I need to see your hands. Please set down the camera so we can see you. Let me, 1 second. Where? Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's see if she comes on. So I know one woman who before a couple of years ago, was working full-time I knew her through sales. So she was probably one of the top salespeople at her company. She was really good at what she did. And she ended up quitting her job to actually go work for her husband. And they ended up moving. They lived in like a 3-bedroom house, and they moved into a small apartment, right? They didn't have kids yet, but they were planning on having kids. But he wanted to make this big career decision. And so she said, even though she wanted kids, she said, you know what? go for it. Let's move into this apartment. Let's hold off on the children because that was the guy she wanted. And she was willing to get on his timeline instead of hers. And what the more modern women will say is they live in a state of constant fear. So, oh, the biological clock that's ticking. And when women say that, what they have a tendency to do is they live in constant fear of what could possibly go wrong instead of trusting her husband's decision making. Okay, let me send this to I'll see if she's free. Yeah, we got someone. Do women watch my show? No, guys, it has to be a girl. I'm trying to talk to the women. Guys, I can't have guys call in. I'm sorry. This is it's Thor. Lore. L-I-O-R. Well, do you see her face or his face? Okay, yeah. We have to have faces, guys. Well, we can't see it right now. We can only see their name. All right. Oh, well, they have to Oh, there she is. Oh, hi. Okay. This is a woman. How are you? Oh, now I can hear her. Very nice t-shirt you have there. Where did you get that?
I generally wear it when I go grocery shopping, and I wore it on a cruise. I know, it's so great. I get some dirty looks. I had some grandpa be like, I was like, anyway.
So,
hi everyone.
So why don't you tell them your name, how long you've been married, and any kids?
So my name's Leor. I'm the wife of Joel. Joel has with me a channel called Western Culture Through God's Eyes, and we talk about a lot of stuff there. And we do not have any kids. We've been married for 3 years, and yeah, that's basically the shtick.
So what did you give up to get the guy that you wanted?
I made a little list. All right. So the first things, there were like things that I gave up during the marriage, like as we grew together. But before the marriage, I gave up, well, I was a Buddhist. So I ditched that and I started my study in the Bible. And also in that Buddhist New Age kind of aesthetic, I was doing yoga, so I stopped that as well because that's a spiritual ritualistic practice. So I stopped doing yoga. I stopped, if I had any like little trinkets around, I ditched those very quickly. I had smoked weed since I was 14, so I basically stopped that cold turkey. And I had slowed down previously, but it wasn't like completely. And so I stopped that, and we were actually going long distance beforehand, and so I quit that fairly early on before we were engaged or anything. So that's really like a lot of women are using prescription medications, and marijuana is, it can be more recreational, but when you use it very frequently, it's another form of like anxiety medication. And when I met Joel, I just felt like so grounded, like I didn't need any of these other things. I gave up authority over myself. I call it like having the last word. So a lot of women, especially in female spaces, they always compete for the last word. And I just that was never a struggle for me with Joel. And but it was never even a notion in my mind. Like he has complete authority. If he says, he would like me to do something, I always contribute my opinion, on something that he asks, but ultimately he has the last word, and I trust his judgment. And he laid down the line for that early on. And that's actually honestly something I didn't see growing up in my parents at all. Is like always bickering. Who's going to have the last word? And unless you have that expectation before you go in, the woman is always going to think, well, you know what? I thought, and it's exhausting. And
isn't it interesting how when you ask women if they listen to their husband, it's like, you would think that's the baseline, but it's really not.
Yeah. The women really see men as a means to an end. And, when I was Joel was actually had been red pilled for a very long time, and he introduced me to Kevin Samuels. So another thing actually that I changed was basically the information that I was consuming. So he had like a level of expectation for conversation that he wanted to have from me. It's not like, what do you today? What do you eat today? Like kind of mindless, mind numbing, talks. So he expected me to conform to his tastes and his interests, and I didn't come in with the knowledge that he had. I didn't come in with the wisdom or any of that. So Joel basically put me on a curriculum, and part of that included Kevin Samuels, and part of that included history and the Bible and all sorts of speakers that he recommends on his channel as well. And so that was something that, he would give me like 2, 3 days to like listen to a seminar or read a chapter or watch something. And then, we talk about it, or something he mentioned. Like I had to be engaging. And a lot of the women are just so reclined and expectant. They never feel like they have to, show up. So, you mentioned some married women don't want to come online. I don't know if you ever get the nerves before you go on camera anymore, but I always do. I just kind of be like, now on camera, and I got it out of my system. But I think really married women need to come online. They need to talk about it more, because all of the unhinged rabid hyenas are talking louder than anybody else. And I, even after consuming Kevin Samuels and other red pill content and just biblical patriarchal dynamics, learning about that. Submission, never heard about submission talked about in my life before meeting my husband. I had, I like, the girls don't have a sense of reality. They really don't. So they think, like, we were talking about this the other day, but basically, like, they think that life is a Disney bubble, but then they realize that that's not very fulfilling. So then they're like, okay, I want something else. And the guys are like, okay, I have an expectation of you. And they like lose their mind. They're like, no, the expectation is you don't have expectations. I expect stuff from you. You don't expect stuff from me. And so then they're unhinged. They're unstable. They're mentally disheveled. They don't know what's going on. So, like, talking about, if a woman says partner, if a woman says egalitarian, if a woman says mutual submission, like if a woman says, or a man, for that matter, say complementarian, that's all like words for matriarchy. That's matriarchy. Like if it's anything other than patriarchy, it's matriarchy. So it's always like conditional stuff like that. So the reason I bring this up, I'm not trying to go on a tangent, but was because like whether the women can have it all. Like me, I just turned 30, a few months ago, but I met my husband when I was 26, 27, right on that cusp. And I, a 26, 27-year-old woman, had to tell my mother, who was 60, that you can't have it all. And she's a 60-year-old woman. And she's like, no, Leora, you don't understand. I'm a modern woman. We can have it all. I'm like, mother, don't you understand that, like, the thinner you spread yourself, the poorer the quality, and you can't have the career and the kids and the house and all the quality and the stuff and the trips and vacations and a wonderful relationship with your husband, when you're constantly, and you just can't have it. And my 60-year-old mother, she was at the exact same maturity level as these 17-year-old girls, 18-year-old girls entering college. Like, no, yes, I can. You can have it all. And she still didn't have it all. Like, when are they going to learn that they can't have it all? Is it when they're going to be on their deathbed?
Yeah.
That they realize.
Do you feel like you could have been in the position you're in if you didn't give up the things that you gave up? So you gave up your religion, you gave up weed, you gave up you just listed a ton of things.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm a chatter.
No, you're totally fine. I just was trying to recall everything, and I'm like, I don't think I could list it all back. But do you think you'd still be where you are?
Definitely not. The submission was the deal breaker. So if you didn't submit in these things, like girls and I think people at large only understand rewards and punishments. So you can't reward girls for like doing stuff you don't like that Indian woman that you should like. That man should not have impregnated her.
No.
He got rewarded for being basically like a suitcase. That's not a mother. That's like a that's a surrogate. I don't know what that is, but there have to be consequences and like even through our marriage, like I've changed things more. I've dressed more modestly through our marriage. I practice a little time out on myself to gain, like when I'm having a lot of estrogen, because when a woman is having intense estrogen, like nothing, no type of conversation really helps it. She just generally just needs to cry it out. So I like it myself. But the reason we do the timeout thing for me is very helpful is because women's gold is like is attention, and their kryptonite is deprivation of attention. So if I like didn't show up, if Joel noticed that I wasn't listening to him, if I wasn't being attentive to what he said, if I didn't the curriculum, for example, if I didn't watch the thing he sent me and listened to it and absorbed it and was able to talk about it, then he wouldn't reward me with attention. And that is really the most precious thing for girls. That's why they're online showing themselves naked, because their parents, had kids and threw them off to the wild and they weren't cared for. So, yeah, there was definitely a deal breaker.
What was the hardest habit for you to kick, and how did you kick it?
I'm a pretty chill person, actually. I have to think about that. The hardest habit, mm, actually, when Joel and I met, I was part of a network marketing company, and he was really gracious to me because he was actually part of a network marketing company in his youth. And so I actually reached out to him trying to sell him a product, and he wanted to be like, F you. But he was so gracious. He knew, like, like, I'm not going to buy your product, little girl. But, he started conversation with me. And over time, he kind of let me realize, because he used to be in my shoes, and he understood, like, if I tell you, or like, no, right, because I wasn't like completely patriarchal. I hadn't completely remolded myself at that point. I was raised to be aspirational or ambitious, whatever. So he understood, because he had that kind of drive in him. Like when you're in that culture of network marketing, if anybody's experienced that, they really hammer it home. He said, okay, if I tell her stop right now, she might be like so uh shocked, kind of like shell shocked, that might end it. So he like gradually let me realize that, you're not actually making any money, little girl. You're just having a little community and, playing pretend. And a lot of the like network marketers purposefully target, market, and sell to women. They teach you to sell to women because women buy more, and women are always craving that community, craving that attention. So that took a little bit longer for me to ditch, but eventually I did ditch it. And he didn't have to hammer it home. He just, like he made his opinion clear, and he said, when you're ready to ditch that, you'll ditch that. I know you're going to ditch that. And eventually I did. It wasn't filling, like, the gape inside of me was fulfilled through my husband. I didn't need that habit.
Was there any, I guess, social habits maybe, like to become maybe a better listener? You said you get put in timeout or something when.
Yeah, like that's when I have estrogen. So
Mhm.
like when I'm on my PMSing or something like
Yeah.
that, like uh I don't have I'm a pretty chill person. I think Joel would say I have pretty good emotional self-control, but we're all girls here. So sometimes I might lip off or say something like not as respectfully as I should, and he's like, "You're being rude. You need to go calm down." I take a time out. In like social settings, um
I just meant
I
one-on-one with him because I don't
oh
see I don't see a lot of, self-help for women that's actually useful, so if you have any useful things that you
right.
think the 2 women that watch my show are gonna see, it just might be helpful.
I think you have a lot more hate watchers than you give yourself credit. You got a lot of you got a lot of trolls out there, but yeah, I think for me the timeout was very helpful because sometimes when you're having estrogen, you're being very emotional. You really want to express yourself, but you're not you're not phrasing it respectfully, or you're not presenting your case in a level-headed manner, you seem unstable, then the guy is not going to listen to you. So you need to kind of like remove yourself from the situation and be like, okay, I apologize for snapping. And I think that this maybe would be a good idea because of these reasons. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But that's where I stand. Like this is, and I don't think it's necessarily comes from like the girls are conscious that they're doing it, but again, like having third party perspective and having the expect, like the guys have to expect, like you are going to have self control or develop some practices that will help you navigate. We don't have kids, but these are really damaging practices when there are kids around and the mother is like going on a tantrum. You know, a lot of us grew up around mothers that like
Yeah.
walk eggshells around them, or it's like a roller coaster in the house. And in those types of environments, the house isn't a home. It's kind of like a prison. You dread going home, and those are the circumstances where kids like leave and they run away. So you don't want your husband to feel that way in his home. Like you don't want your husband to be sitting in the car, like bracing himself to come and approach you. You know, you want him to
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you. You know, I'm like always at the door waggling my tail to see him when he comes home. So like that's the stuff he likes. And I think we need more content like that. So that's why we're such big fans of yours.
Well, thank you for calling in.
You're welcome.
Love the shirt.
Holla.
Okay, see you.
Girl, see ya.
Okay. All right, guys, I want to reiterate the rules here. I need to see you on camera. I need your face. I need you to put the phone down, see your hands. And yeah, if you're rude or disrespectful, I will kick you off. And please do not overtalk me. I'm running a show. So, yeah, someone's got to, run the show. So, okay. This person's not on camera. They have to be on camera first. Okay, no problem. How many people do we have in the queue? 2. Okay. Are any of them on camera that we could bring on first or no? Oh, you can't. Okay, sorry. I don't understand the Zoom fully. We'll take them off screen until we can see that they're, sorry guys, this is our first call-in show from America, so we're just working through the kinks. But yeah, there you have it. So in order to get married, she gave up, okay, hello.
Hello.
What's your name?
Shanice Ingram.
Hi, Shanice. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Where are you at? It looks bright out.
I'm outside with my kids.
I meant, like what state?
Oh, New Mexico, Albuquerque.
Oh, okay. So are you married, I'm guessing?
Yes.
And how many kids?
I have 3 kids.
3 kids. So what did you give up to get the man that you wanted?
I just gave up. I would say like I lost a lot of weight. And that was like huge for me because it actually happened because you said like, oh, your husband doesn't want a big wife. So I gave up eating and I lost like 50 pounds for him. So that was like crazy for
Wow.
me. And so, but now he's trying to put on some weight. So I've been helping him eat. And I also had to let go of myself a lot because it's not all about me. It's about everybody else. So that's what I do.
Okay. And how did you meet your husband?
I met him on Plenty of Fish. And yeah, that's about it.
And what?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, he runs his own business and he has like 6 trucks and he works really hard for us.
So you lost 60 pounds in order to get your husband. That's amazing. Congratulations. You look great.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. And that's crazy that you answered this because like that really helped me out, It does matter. So, but yeah.
Well, thank you for calling in. Have fun in New
Thank you.
Mexico.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Nothing in Constitution regarding marriage. She stopped eating the Cheetos and watching Jerry Springer. It's tough. Cheetos are good, you know. But so talking about money, I do read the chat, guys. I've seen your comments. So again, if you want to call in, I'd really love to hear from married women or women in long-term relationships. And what I'd like to hear is, what sacrifices did you make to have a family? Or maybe you disagree. Maybe you have it all. Maybe I'm wrong. Call in, let me know. What did you sacrifice in order to have a family? What did you give up in order to get the man or the family that you wanted? Said it's a trap. What do you mean it's a trap? Stop it. I think, one thing I've heard from women that have been married and lost a lot of weight in the marriage is most men aren't going to tell you that the weight bothers them, because men are nice and they tend to be kind people. And they don't want to hurt our feelings because they love us. But I've heard from women that have lost a lot of weight that their husband just subconsciously started to want to be around them more. They would be more excited to see them, treat them better. It's important to men, the way we look represents them. So, yeah, everything is a trade-off. Good question. Thank you. I try to ask the good questions. Because the issue we have is there are good women out there, right? There are women that sacrifice for their families. But the problem is most of those women, they don't want to be on camera. They don't want to talk because they would rather be at home, right? Yeah, so what did you give up? Where is any mention of... Oh, I'm sorry, this is for women only. Yeah, guys, it's a ladies show. It's a ladies call-in. Guys, this is good. I'm telling you. You should get it. It's in the comments. It's a pre-workout. So if you want to work out, you can take it and then go for a run or something. Okay, we have Cecilia next. Let's see if we get her. I gotta see you on camera, so put your face up or camera on. I'm gonna see. I have one other woman I wanted to come on, but she doesn't like being on camera, so let me get her. Can you list what she gave up to get into a relationship? Just, you can turn the sound off for her until she has her camera on. Okay, there we go. Okay, number one, he said, all right, I'm getting a list. Of, so I have a friend and she was divorced, right? And she basically met a new guy that she wanted to be in a relationship with, but he had these very high standards and she knew that she would have to change her life if she wanted to get married to this man. She's listing all the things that she did. So she changed her phone number. She never goes out without him. She put cameras in her apartment. She gave up drinking. She gave up the password to her phone. Wow. That just keeps. Look at that. Um, I'm sorry, this is a female call-in show for today, so it's women only. Okay. Well, I guess that's it for today. We still do? Or okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Well. What about you guys? Put it in the chat. If you can't call in, tell me what your girlfriends, wives, what did they give up for you? All the women looking for good marriage, pay attention to what those women are saying. All all the stuff most older women will never tell younger women because they're angry and jealous. Okay, we got Taylisha and Cecilia. Turn on your camera, please. Oh, hello.
Hi, Pearl.
How are you?
Great. How are you? You look so pretty in green.
Oh, thank you. Where are you based out of?
I am in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, and single or married?
Married.
Married. And how many kids?
We have two.
2 kids. So, what did you give up to get the family that you wanted?
Okay, so my story is a bit different. I've been married 22 years. So I met my husband at 20 and we got married at 22. He was 26. We lived in New York City. I didn't have a career or anything like that, but I did enjoy working in the city. So we didn't have children until 15 years later. So I noticed that what I had to give up for my children, not really so much sacrifice for my husband because it had already been us, was obviously, sleep, your body. I breastfed for 5 years. I tandem nursed for 3 years. I had 2 natural births. So, I'm feeling the repercussions of post childbirth. Obviously, your body changes tremendously. Um, but my husband has been with me every step of the way. So, I mean, he saw me have a natural birth. He saw me breastfeed. We were sleepless nights. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I've been home for 10 years. So I feel like he has sacrificed more, as far as that. I mean, it's equal parts sacrifice, right? We have to give up something of ourselves for the betterment of our children, but not specifically for each other as husband and wife. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, could you explain that? I guess, what do you mean by that?
Well, because I didn't feel like being married was as much of a sacrifice as motherhood.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, being a wife just kind of came easy for me. It was more natural. It wasn't until we had children that I started to realize, like, wow, this is no joke.
Yeah.
I was an early bloomer. I mean, a late bloomer. I had my first at 35 and my second at 37. So, um, I felt like I had already had a lot of experience. Me and my husband were on the same page about a lot of things. But obviously, we both sacrifice our time, our sleep schedule, date nights, sleeping in Saturday mornings, our money. Obviously, our finances are now go towards kids, everything, as far as sports and clothing and shelter and just keeping them alive. So I feel like me and my husband have been in the same boat as far as sacrifice once we came into parenthood.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I have any marital advice as far as what women sacrifice, but obviously sacrifice yourself, being selfless instead of selfish. So I serve him first and then I serve my children. But for 15 years, that's how we operated. So I think children has been a huge sacrifice. for both of us.
Well, that was great. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you, Pro. Keep doing what you're doing.
Mhm. She's over 35. She looks young. So, yeah. You said that's all the callers? Okay. Great. I can't believe I got callers today. What a day. I didn't think any women watched. Okay, so most people, okay. Okay, so guys, that was my question of the day. What did you sacrifice to get the man that you want? Thank you to the married women for calling in. We know there's good women out there. So it's good to hear from you guys that are married and can offer insight to what married life is like. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you like the video on your way out and subscribe to the channel. And please go to theaudacitynetwork.com and sign up for our monthly or yearly memberships. Love you guys. I'll talk to you next time.